Hi, it's Mark from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here this morning with Mr. Bernie Pawlik of the famous Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, 16-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver as voted by their customers. How are you doing today, Bernie?
Doing very well.
So we're going to talk about the pitfalls. We had a little conversation last week about used cars and all the advantages, the price, etc., bigger, fancier for the same price. But there's some pitfalls, and you mentioned that we were going to talk about those. So what are the pitfalls of buying a used car?
Well, absolutely. There are definitely pitfalls. So the first step in purchasing a used car or van or truck for that matter is find out what you need, and I mean, sometimes it's what you want, but there's a distinct difference between want and need sometimes, but either way, just figure out what kind of vehicle you want. So, and at this point, you need to do your research. I mentioned that last time. Research is key. So say you settle on a four-door sedan compact kind of model. Then what you need to do is look at comparable vehicles, look at stuff you like, look at what you think might be good. So I just picked a couple of models, a few different models in that category: compact sedan. There's the Toyota Camry. There's the Honda Accord. These are sort of the nicer models. Honda Accord, this BMW 328i, Mercedes C250. Ford Fusion, or Buick LaCrosse. Now, there's a lot of other models that I haven't mentioned, but there's 6 sort of comparable type vehicles. So you look at you do some research, you figure out the price points of the vehicles, whether or not that meets your budget, whether you like the vehicles or not, and then that's your starting point. So the first step is to narrow it down to the model that suits your needs, what you need. Do you have a family? Do you need a minivan? Do you have a business? Do you need a truck? Or do you just want do you want a sports car? And you figure out what your starting point.
So how do you end up finding the prices?
The best thing I can suggest is you look at papers. I say papers, but online. Craigslist, that's a good resource. There's the Auto Trader. There's a huge resource there. Kijiji has got some cars for sale, and I mean there's even your local newspapers and stuff, which is not a very huge resource, but Craigslist and Auto Trader would be the biggest things. And you look at your list and you go, okay, how much is say for example a 2011 Toyota Camry, and you get an idea, of the price range and the mileage and what's happening with the car, and that gives you kind of a base idea. And then you could write down a little, make a little data sheet yourself, nothing complicated, but sort of a price range, and you go, okay, these would meet my needs. And there's your price research.
So I researched price. What's next?
So next step, and this is, I would say, one of the most important things, probably the most important thing, is to look at projected reliability and maintenance costs. It just so happens this week, a company that's online is called yourmechanic.com. They just came up with a study with car maintenance prices, which is just awesome. I'm going to share this because it just happened to come out at exactly the time we wanted to present this. So just get my screen share going here. And start screen sharing. There we go. So this is a cost list that they've compiled of vehicle brands and their maintenance cost over a period of 10 years. Now you'll notice that BMW sits at the top, substantially more expensive than the next car down, which is a Mercedes. About $5,000 more over a 10-year period than a Mercedes. Then there's Cadillac, Volvo, all the way down. But you'll notice that almost all the brands in the top are fancy luxury cars, European brands. If you look at the bottom of the list, the cheapest ones, Toyota, actually they're all 3 Toyota brands, Lexus, Scion, I'm never sure how to say that one, and Toyota, on the cheapest to maintain. So, this is a good bit of information, because if you go, hey, I'm really fixed on a BMW, and you go, hey, that BMW is probably going to cost me more money than a Mercedes to maintain over the period of 10 years. Well, that might change your thoughts. Maybe you like the BMW so much, you're not going to make it change. But this is the kind of information that's really useful to have. So this is one list. The other awesome piece of list here, which I'll switch to. Did that list change, Mark?
Yep.
Okay, so this list here, they've actually compiled the most expensive cars that they've come across, which is really interesting. And you notice that the top car in this one is a Chrysler Sebring. And I'd say based on my experience, that's probably pretty accurate. This car is really honestly not a kind of car you want to own. They're just an okay car. I mean, they do actually make a convertible, which is nice, but not an extremely fancy car. But there's just so much that goes wrong with these cars. It's so expensive. It really, if you got a Sebring for really cheap, you probably don't even want to own it anyways, because you're going to be spending a lot of money. So again, this list is it's on yourmechanic.com. They've got a lot of other interesting bits of information on car repairs and maintenance too. But this is you know, that's a good piece of information. So getting back where we were talking, so there's other resources. There's the Lemonade used car guides. These are very good resources as well, although I find them sometimes a little opinionated with their ideas. But yeah, those are a couple of the resources you can look at.
So I've used Lemonade in the past. What do you mean by opinionated?
Well, I think Lemonade, they're a bit of a, how do I say, a consumer crusading organization. I mean, their agenda is really to hold manufacturers' feet to the fire to make a good quality car product, which is excellent. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's a great thing. But just some of their, I mean, going back many years, I really wanted a Volkswagen Westphalia van, because they were kind of a unique camper van, and only Volkswagen really made it unique, you know. And if you read their reviews about it, you know, you wouldn't want to touch one with a 10-foot pole. And there's a lot of things about Volkswagens that weren't great, but you know what? If you have your eyes open and you go into a transaction, it doesn't really matter. It's like, yes, you know, there are issues, but you know, they're very much like, don't buy it. Well, I want one. So that I'm kind of of the opinion, whatever car you want, you should buy and have. Just know the consequence of it. So I mean, putting opinions other than this is what it costs to maintain is you know, just facts are good, and then you can make your own decisions from there. Another excellent source of information, by the way, is just talking to people who repair cars, people like us. You may have a shop you deal with who you trust. Talk to them about the car you're looking at and say, this is what I'm thinking about buying. What's your experience with it? And there's also, you know, specialist shops that work on a lot of cars. Again, I don't know if I say this, you know, if you want to just trust the opinion of one shop, you might want to call a couple of different places, because I find in our business there's a lot of opinionated people, and their opinions may not always be worth trusting. It's good to get a few different recommendations. But if you find, you know, you look on Your Mechanic, you see the price, for instance, of a Toyota is good, and then you talk to your mechanic, he goes, oh yeah, Toyotas are great, you know, and reliability is the key thing you want. Well, then you know you found the car. The Camry might be the car you want to pursue.
Okay, so we know our price, we know the reliability. What's next?
Next thing is an inspection. So you've picked the car out. The next key is to get the vehicle inspected and get it done by a professional, by a mechanic, a shop like ourselves, or an inspection service. There's a number of those around, or you know, that would be the key thing to do.
So what if the car drives fine? I've looked down the side, I've maybe used a magnet, there's no Bondo, whatever gimmick that some people have come up with to try and evaluate a car. Everything looks good. Do I really need an inspection in that case?
Well, I'd say absolutely. If you want to buy yourself a good, reliable used car and you want to know what's going on with it. I mean, I have bought used cars myself without inspecting them, but, you know, knowing, hey, I don't really know, I might need a brake job next week, but they feel fine. The thing with cars is you can drive them, and you can know a lot about a car by driving it down the road. But also, you can never, you know, there's a lot of things that you won't really know that need to be done. Like there may be an oil leak, or there's a coolant leak. It's not really that noticeable. You know, there could be, the brakes could be almost worn out, and yet it still stops fine. There's no shakes or vibrations. So, you know, you could be buying a used car that potentially has thousands of dollars worth of work, and you don't really know unless you have it inspected. So it is really important to know that.
Any other thoughts for today?
You know, just final thoughts. I just want to summarize what we've talked about. You know, the first point is pick the car that you want, pick the car that you need, and do some research in the price range. Get to know what the price is. You know, once you know the price, then you'll know, hey, that's a good deal, or that's not a good deal. You look at the reliability reports to hone your selection down. Going, you know what, I like BMWs, but I wouldn't buy one because it's going to cost too much money to repair. I'll settle with a Honda Accord, which is not settling at all, by the way. It's a very nice car. You know, so you got to look at it. Or you might say, hey, you know what? I want the BMW anyhow. I don't care. I'll just pay more money because I want the BMW. So you look at the reliability reports, you make your choice there, and then the third thing you do is you pick the vehicle and you take it and get it inspected. And then from there, you make your choice and you make your purchase. So the next episode, we're going to talk about you know, some vehicle types to avoid and some vehicles to be cautious of. And that's it.
All right, so we've been talking with Mr. Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver. If you want to buy a car, these are the guys to go see for an inspection. Give them a call, 604-327-7112. They're busy. You must book ahead. Or check out their website. Tons of information on there, pawlikautomotive.com. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.